it's not really, it's not super crucial that the husband and wife have exactly the same interests or the same personalities or even the same ways of teaching their children. What's really, really important, however, is that the husband and wife have the same goals for their children, that they have the same goals for what kind of Muslims they want to raise and how they want their children to turn out, inshallah. So this is a discussion that has to happen between husband and wife privately about what are our goals for our children, what kind of Muslims do we want them to develop into, and what are we going to do to get there? What's the game plan? What's the roadmap? And what do we have to bring into our lives and what do we have to get rid out of our lives to make this happen? And the other agreement that husbands and wives really should have is that they're not going to contradict one another or nag one another, lecture one another in front of the children, because that isn't very conducive to raising children who believe that Islam works and that who come to it with a spirit of joy. And unfortunately, I've seen this more often than not, where even in my own generation of people that I grew up with, where there were families where the mothers were very pious and very practicing and the dads weren't. And especially in the young men, many of them grew up to not necessarily choose the practice of the deen, unfortunately. It was hit or miss. But I have seen majority of families where the fathers were pious and practicing and loving and engaged with the kids, and the moms maybe were kind of loosey-goosey, lackadaisical. Many of the kids have chosen to practice the deen and to practice it seriously. The dads have a power over their kids that really cannot be explained. And I think it might be the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the religion a patriarchal religion, that the deen comes down from the father, because I don't think fathers realize how much value and how much importance they um, bring to the practice of the deen in their kids. And for many years, I used to say this, and I used to say, oh, this is just data I've collected. This is just what I've seen in the community. I don't actually have science to back me up. But now we actually have science to back up this assertion. There's a book called Families and Faith, How Religion Gets Passed Down Across the Generations. It's by Vern Bengston. He used to be a Christian minister. He started studying 2,000 families in 1972, 2,000 families, Jewish and Christian, and he followed them till 2006. So for 34 years, he would meet with them like every 5 years, and he wanted to see specifically what was it that caused the next generation to continue practicing the religion of the parents. And there were all sorts of factors that came into play that he looked at, but the overwhelming factor that decided whether the next generation was going to continue being Christian and Jewish or not was if the father practiced Christianity and Judaism and was engaged with the children. What his studies showed was that it wasn't enough for the father to be pious. You can be someone who has the misbah in your hands and goes to the mosque for all 5 prayers and has a long beard, but if you're not engaged with your kids, if you don't know them, if you're not taking time to get to know them, if you aren't having fun times with them, if you don't know their friends, if you don't know their stories, then it's hit or miss. But fathers who were engaged with their kids and practiced the religion, so the majority of those, the religion then continued in the next generation.